If you're watching this, there's a good chance you believe one simple idea. Work hard, save money. Eventually, you'll become rich. It sounds reasonable, but there's a quiet problem hiding inside that belief. Because millions of people follow that formula their entire lives and still never become wealthy. Not because they're lazy, not because they're stupid, but because they're making a few very specific financial mistakes. Mistakes that look completely normal from the outside. Mistakes that the system itself quietly encourages. And once you understand how these mistakes actually work, you start seeing them everywhere. In your job, in your bank account, even in the way people talk about money. Today we're going to look at 5 of them. Not motivational advice, not get-rich-quick nonsense. Just the uncomfortable mechanics that quietly keep most people from ever becoming rich. The first mistake is believing that income alone creates wealth. At first, this sounds absurd. Of course income matters. A higher salary should mean a richer life. But the math tells a different story. Imagine 2 people. One earns $40,000 a year. The other earns $120,000. Instinctively, we assume the second person will become wealthy. But income only measures money coming in. Wealth is what survives after spending. And this is where the trap appears. As income rises, spending almost always rises with it. Bigger apartment, newer car, better restaurants, more subscriptions. This process even has a name in economics: lifestyle inflation, the strange phenomenon where earning more money somehow never feels like enough. And over time, something strange happens. A person earning $120,000 can easily end up saving less than someone earning $40,000. Because wealth isn't built by earning money. It's built by owning assets that grow while you sleep. Income buys time. Assets build wealth. Confusing those 2 ideas is the first mistake. The second mistake is believing that saving money automatically makes you rich. Saving feels responsible. It feels disciplined. It feels safe. But there's a quiet enemy working against savings. Inflation. Most people understand inflation in a vague way. Prices go up. Things get more expensive. But the long-term math is harsher than it sounds. If inflation averages 3% per year, your money loses roughly half its purchasing power in about 24 years. That means $100,000 saved today might only feel like $50,000 in the future. And this is where the contradiction appears. Traditional financial advice tells people to store their money safely. Stagnation. And stagnation quietly erodes wealth. This is why wealthy individuals focus less on saving money and more on investing it. Because savings preserve money. Investments multiply it. Without growth, savings slowly decay. And most people never notice the erosion until decades have passed. The third mistake is believing that debt is always bad. For most people, debt is a burden. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans. These forms of debt extract money from your future income. But there's another category of debt, one that behaves very differently. Productive debt. The wealthy often use borrowed money not for consumption, but for acquiring assets. Real estate, businesses, investments that generate cash flow or appreciate in value. When this works, the asset grows faster than the interest on the debt, which means the debt actually accelerates wealth creation. Meanwhile, the average consumer uses debt in the opposite direction, borrowing money to buy things that lose value: phones, cars, furniture. The result is subtle but powerful. Assets generate income. Consumer debt consumes income. Over time, this difference compounds, and 2 people with identical salaries can end up in completely different financial realities. The fourth mistake is believing that time doesn't matter. Most people treat investing as something they'll start later. After the promotion, after the raise, after life becomes more stable. But time is the most powerful force in finance. Not effort, not intelligence, time. Because of compound growth. Compounding is simple in theory. Money earns returns, and those returns start earning returns too. But compounding only works if it has enough time. A person investing $500 per month starting at age 25 can easily end up with more wealth than someone investing $1,500 per month starting at 40. even though the second person contributes far more money. Because the earlier investor gave compounding an extra 15 years to work. Time multiplies money in ways that feel almost unfair. But delay destroys that advantage. And most people underestimate how expensive procrastination really is. The fifth mistake is believing that financial systems are designed to make individuals wealthy. They're not. Modern financial systems are designed primarily for stability and consumption. Banks profit when people borrow. Corporations profit when people spend. Governments often benefit when economic activity increases. And none of these incentives require individuals to become wealthy. In fact, high levels of consumer spending usually depend on the opposite. People earning income, quickly circulating that income back into the economy, which creates a strange social environment. Advertising encourages spending. Credit encourages borrowing. Status culture encourages visible consumption. Meanwhile, the behaviors that quietly build wealth, long-term investing, delayed gratification, asset ownership, often look boring, unimpressive, even strange. Which means the system rarely pushes people toward them. It quietly nudges them in the other direction. When you step back, something interesting appears. None of these 5 mistakes feel like mistakes. Working harder feels logical. Saving money feels responsible. Avoiding debt feels safe. Starting later feels harmless. Following social norms feels normal. But the long-term outcomes reveal a different pattern. Wealth isn't simply about effort. It's about understanding the invisible rules that govern money. The rules most people never see. And once you notice those rules, something unsettling happens. You start realizing the real financial divide isn't just between rich and poor. It's between people who understand how the system works and people who unknowingly work inside it. Which raises a quiet question. If the system rewards asset ownership, long-term investing, and financial leverage, why are so few people ever taught those ideas in the first place?